My name is Michael Gibson. I am the incredibly fortunate husband of our speaker tonight. And I just want to tell you a little bit about her because several years ago when I first started dating her, actually the first day that we got together, it wasn't actually a date, it turned into a date. And after we started to talk to each other about what we liked and who we are and what our values were, I asked her within about 5 minutes of finding these things out, could we date? And then she said to me, yeah, but I come with kind of like a Surgeon General's warning, like on a cigarette pack. And I went, okay, what's that about? And she says, well, I will disrupt your life. And at the time, I was a network engineer working all across the country building out data centers. And today I'm a Tantra teacher. I'm a sex and happiness coach. I work with couples and with my beloved wife, and we're living the dream. Welcome to your life. It's truly amazing.
Thank you.
Laurie is two-time best-selling author of the Sex and Happiness series. The first Sex and Happiness book is called The Tantric Laws of Intimacy. She's going to tell you a little bit about that tonight. And then the second book is called It Gets Better with Age. And so buckle up. It's going to be a lot of fun. She's also produced 3 films, which have also won awards at film festivals. They're hilarious. You can find them online. She'll tell you a little bit more about that and a little bit more about how she got here and what did this journey look like as she was coming up through the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2020. She's been at this for a while. And so it is my deep pleasure and honor to be able to introduce my wife, my goddess, my extraordinary lover, Laurie Handlers.
Great. So nice to have you all here. And also, I don't know a lot of you, which is great. A lot of times I go into places and I kind of know everybody. So I know like 5 people here or 6 people here, and the rest I don't. So thank you for coming. Like, it's so extraordinary to meet new people. And I do kind of every week at ISTA, but I love that. It's just wonderful. I love people. So Michael told me I should start out by telling you how I got into this. You know, like how I became a Tantra teacher and why I did it. So I thought I would tell you this too. It's political in nature. So during the Clinton administration, the Bill Clinton administration, I was doing welfare to work programs. So I was designing and facilitating programs for people on the welfare rolls to get off of welfare, because Clinton gave people a time frame. He said, in this amount of time, you will not be able to collect welfare anymore. So I was teaching people who were the most difficult to serve. That means somebody who went off like went on to methadone yesterday, or sometimes I was dealing with people who were somewhat college educated and may have had employment before. I had like the hardest to serve, easiest to serve. I didn't care. I worked with them. I helped them get employed. I helped them feel really good about themselves. And it was wonderful. I had 15 employees. I was winning awards for the work that I was doing, and it was great. And on the side, I was studying Tantra because when I was a little girl, I was very precocious. I used to lock myself in the bathroom and explore myself for hours. And my mother would yell up and say, you know, what are you doing? What are you doing in the bathroom? And I'd be, right, I'll be right out, Ma. Like, I felt like it was the Immaculate Conception, so I didn't actually want to talk to her about what I was doing. I felt always, even when I started to have sex, which was when I was 18, I had my first sexual intercourse. Lots of sex before that, that was like playing. Kissing, petting, like big hugging and cuddling, feeling up under clothing. But my first sexual intercourse was when I was in college. I was 18. And anyone that I had sex with, I wanted to talk about it with them and say, I think there's more. And they said, that chick is weird. Like, what is she talking about? I'd say, let's go deep. Let's get locked up like in a cabin together for about a week and talk about it. And the guys I was with at the time were like, she's weird. She's really weird. She's cool, but she's weird. So I was studying Tantra on the side of working for the feds and the state governments and the city governments getting people off of welfare. And I don't know what year it was, but George W. Bush was elected as president. And he took all those programs and made them faith-based. That meant that I'd have to own a church to keep doing that work. I don't own a church. Not gonna own a church. It's not my thing. So everything that I was making, all my income and the 15 employees that I had went bye-bye. And I said, you know what? Sex always sells. I'm gonna become a Tantra teacher. And that was in 1998. And so I don't care what political spectrum you're on, George W. Bush did one good thing. He made me a Tantra teacher. And I have never looked back. Like, I stopped having to do it only on weekends, and I just was it. That was it. Like, now some of you, or I know one or two at least in here, are landmark education graduates. Actually, there's more than that. I knew you were. So I had also worked for Landmark Education, and so when I became a full-time Tantra teacher, everyone who had ever done Landmark who knew me, which was the whole East Coast of the United States, came to my classes. So I lived in Washington, D.C., and I lived a few blocks from the White House, and we would hold space for the White House. We would hold space for what was happening in Washington, D.C. Maybe we could make a difference. And they came from all over the East Coast. So I didn't really have to do tons of enrollment. Like, people just came. They wanted what I was having because I was different. When I was at Landmark, I was like a little drill sergeant walking around. And then I got Tantra. I'm like, well, at that time, then I let my hair grow, and I was wearing flowers in my hair. And I changed into, I pretty much really wear dresses these days. Wearing pants today is like an anomaly. Most of the time now, I'm in some flow. And that never happened before Tantra. So I just took it, hook, line, and sinker, and said, I'm going to be the goddess. Michael didn't say, but when we met, how many people here know about One Taste? Let's just find that out. Okay, so One Taste is the organization that sponsored orgasmic meditation. And Michael and I met at a One Taste event. That was the second time we met. And they put him on the hot seat, and they said to him, if you could have anything, what do you want? And he said, I believe there's a goddess in every woman, and that's who I want to meet. And I said, have you told anyone this? And he said, no. And my body was having like a reaction to that. And by the end of the night, I went up to him and I said, we should have a glass of wine now, the one we talked about when we met at the party the other night. He said, really, why? I said, I am the goddess. And what you said made me a little wet. And he said, I think we should have that glass of wine. Sex always sells. Anyway, I want to talk to you tonight about how sex is connected to happiness. And like it's more than a belief that I hold. It's like a holistic embodiment that I believe is true. But first I want to just tell you my definition of Tantra. So Tantra is very popular now in the Western world. When I first started taking Tantra, there were maybe like 5 big Tantra teachers, very well known in the world. And then there was a bunch of us coming up after them, maybe another 10. And that was pretty much it. And when I used to go out and say to people, I teach Tantra, they would say, what is that? And I would say, it's a kind of yoga. And they'd say, really? What kind of yoga? Do you do down dog? And do you do tree pose? And I'd say, no, it's sexual. And you make sounds, and you breathe, and you move. And I can remember sitting at a bar somewhere and 2 guys saying to me, what kind of sounds do you make? And I said, ooh, ah, ooh, ah. And they said, it can't be that. And I said, that's it, it's that, that's it. So, my teacher told me that Tantra meant expansion through awareness. And I sat there like, what is that? Expansion through awareness. Awareness of what? Like that just didn't make it for me, that definition. So I redefined Tantra to mean expansion or transformation through pleasure. Like, I'm in a body, pleasure is my birthright, and if I wasn't meant to have pleasure, then I would have been born in wood, metal, or glass. They're organic, but that's not what encompasses and encases my body. So skin is the largest sensory organ, and since I'm enclosed in that, and you're enclosed in that, pleasure is your birthright. So I defined Tantra as transformation through pleasure. And then, because I'm a Landmark graduate, I know that everything that's not pleasure will come up when I'm trying to experience pleasure. Like all the stuff. If I had issues with my father, that comes up. If I was afraid of being rejected or I have abandonment issues, that comes up. If I have trauma in my body, that comes up. And so it's all there to be dealt with. And for me, it's a much faster path than talking about it. Like, just talking about all that stuff doesn't make it go away. It doesn't actually work it out. Sometimes it makes it feel better. Like when I used to be in therapy, I used to feel like it was Chinese food. It felt really good for an hour, and then I was hungry again. It just was. I had to get embodied, or I had to find therapists at the time who were doing embodiment therapy so that I could work it all through my whole body and then talk about it and work it out. So Tantra is a set, it's practices. Some of them are esoteric practices, some of them are not so esoteric practices, but it's all in the exploration using breath, sound, and movement. It's an exploration of, can I allow pleasure to flow through this thing that I have that's this amazing creation? That's a mystery. So you following me so far? Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. Great, thanks. I'm deviating from my notes, but it's good.
We wouldn't know if you didn't tell us.
I know. So in my exploration of Tantra, so I studied Tantra for about 4 years when I decided I was going to branch out on my own. And there were things missing back then. So it wasn't, I left Landmark in 1996 and immediately started studying Tantra. And so from 96 to about 2000 is when, so George Bush was probably elected around then. I don't know, someone else might know, I don't know. I realized there were things not happening in Tantra. Like, although we were getting into the body and we were moving sexual energy and we were doing things, I was shamed for having anger back then. And I happened to have been a pretty angry person in my life. I didn't know then why I was angry. I since have had a flashback. And now I do know why I was angry. But for years, it was a mystery. I just knew that the first thing I would do if you looked at me, anger. If your eyebrow went up, I would be like, ready to. And therapists were afraid of me. And other groups were sometimes afraid of me. My friends loved me, but they never wanted to be on the other end of the phone, like in 2 in the morning when I wasn't sleeping, when I was angry. And so in Tantra, I found ways to work through anger. We did emotional release tools that were amazing, but I was shamed for it. So I wrote my first book, The Tantric Laws of Intimacy, and it includes honor your anger. Anger means that your boundaries were trespassed at some point or other, or many times. Anger informs us that something is off. So I wrote a chapter on honor your anger because I feel like it informs us. The other thing that was never discussed when I was first studying Tantra was boundaries. Hello. How many people here know about boundaries and the wheel of consent? Raise your hands. Yeah, almost half the population, and almost everyone in this room knows. no one talked about boundaries. So I'd be sitting knee to knee with a Tantra guy, and we'd be in something called a puja, and we'd be sitting and we'd be eye gazing, and it was hot. It was like so melting. And then he would like touch me. And I go, wait a minute. That wasn't in the, how come this is happening? So I wrote a chapter about boundaries. And for me, it was the hardest chapter to write because boundaries didn't happen in my family. My family just barged in. They barged into my room whenever they wanted to talk to me, especially my father. He never knocked. So I could be doing anything in there, especially exploring myself. And I would go knock on the door. He'd go, but I just want to talk. I go, I know, but it's my room. But I just want to talk. And then it turns out that I was just like that. Later on, I had a partner, and he would be working early in the morning because I would probably interrupt the work. At 10, I would stroll down to the office and say, blah, 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 blah. And he would say, I'm working. And I would say, but I just want to talk. I was just like my father. So I wrote a chapter in the book about boundaries. I tried to deal with all the things that I felt were left out from the Tantra community. And then some things that weren't left out. So Tantra is really breath, sound, and movement. And it's focused on connecting body, mind, and spirit. So it makes sex into a spiritual experience. It reframes sex into a spiritual experience, one where two people or 5 people, I don't know how many people you're having sex with, but where whoever you're having sex with becomes a god or a goddess. And you also become a god or a goddess, and you honor that person from a divine perspective, different from, hey, I got it on with somebody. Take a breath on that, everybody. And can that change a life? Yes, totally. It changed my whole life. So I found Tantra in 1996, I was 46. So if you're younger than that now, yay for you. If I had had Tantra when I was 21, there's a lot of people I probably wouldn't have had sex with. It just was different. I was different. All of a sudden, this was a temple, and I wasn't going to just let anybody into the temple gate. And that's, I say this to you quite honestly, like I didn't have that perspective before. Who would have given it to me? All the sex education I got was don't get pregnant and don't get a disease. That's probably the same sex education that you got. Mm-hmm. Did anyone get something different?
Be a good girl.
Be a good girl.
I was taught that it was about love, and it didn't really stray from that, which was both empowering and also difficult when I realized not everybody's having sex for love.
Right. Then what do you do?
Have attachment issues.
Good answer. Really good response. Basically, we're not taught much, if anything at all. So here I was at 46, and I was like, oh my God, my body's a temple. Everything's changed. Everything's changing. Oh, I wish I knew this before. I wish I knew when I wanted to talk to those guys that I was having sex with in college who didn't want to go deep. They thought it was too weird of me to want to do that. I don't have any regrets, by the way. And knock on wood, wherever wood is, I didn't get myself into too much trouble. Most of my friends used abortion as their means of birth control. Some of my friends have had 3 and 4 abortions. I never had one. I really was very responsible, even though my parents probably thought I wasn't. But I was. I was trying to be anyway. But to reframe sex into, oh my God, 2 godlike people are connecting and they're doing things that allow them to like melt into some kind of a spiritual trance state. Like I discovered that having sex like that was kind of like, and using my own sexual energy to fuel myself was kind of like what people were paying for drugs for. Like I could get into some of those same states without getting high. What an amazing phenomenon. My own body has DMT in it, and so does yours. But who knew? Until then. So I also wrote a chapter about emotional release because it saved my life. Emotional release practices saved my life in the first book, The Tantric Laws of Intimacy. I also wrote about honoring your anger. I also wrote about confrontation, like why it's so important to confront things and not just let them pass. But there were a lot of tantrikas who probably didn't agree with me. Like they just eye-gazed and made believe everything was awesome. But it wasn't. It wasn't always. It wasn't. And it isn't today anyway. There's lots of missteps in the world of Tantra. There's lots of accountability processes going on in the world of Tantra these days. Not everything was just okay. So I want to go back to how does sex connect to happiness? Sometimes people say to me they're really happy and they're finished with sex. People have said that to me. And I say to them, what happened to you? They say, well, you know, I'm out of this relationship and I'm glad and I just don't want to get involved anymore. I just don't want to have sex. And I'm like, I'm sorry for you. I was once doing a sex magic class and a woman called me up and she said, I want to come to your class. I said, great. She said, I'm 60. I said, great. I think I was 62 at the time. And she said, but I have to ask you this question. Do I have to have an orgasm? And I said, yeah, you do. What do you mean I have to? I said, well, sex magic is about fueling your intentions with your vital life force, your orgasm. And she said, oh, I don't want to do that. Never mind, I don't want to come. And I said, I feel sorry. Is there any more conversation we could have? And she said, no. I'm not coming if I have to have an orgasm. It's funny, I'm not coming if I have to have an orgasm. So, I'll explain it to you as the chakras, as the Hindu system of the chakras, or even the Sanskrit system of the chakras. I'll explain it to you that way, and then we'll have an experience of it, of connecting it, so that everyone will be able to feel what they feel like when they're sort of just hanging out, and then feel what it feels like when they're actually moving sexual energy in their body. Does that sound okay? Great. So the explanation is the sex area of the body is the center of pleasure and pain and the memories thereof. Yeah? So let's say you didn't get the right gift for the holidays one year when you were a kid. Just like picking a nondescript thing. But you know if you didn't. We happen to have a scientist friend, some of us have a scientist friend, Bill Andrews, who at 5 years old, he's the person who discovered telomerase. That's an enzyme that extends the telomeres in the body. At 5 years old, Bill asked his family to get him a telescope for Christmas. And they got him a toy telescope. And he had a fit. And that memory is in his sex. Today he's a famous scientist because that's like a traumatic experience. So on that trauma, he drove himself to be a top scientist in the world. By the way, our traumas are not all that bad. Some of the traumas have like really bad stuff associated to it. And also our tremendous success. all the stuff that makes us great and who we are in life is also based on a trauma response. Like, it's all part of who we are. So this center stores pleasure, pain, and the memories of pleasure, pain. It allows, so when we're rummaging around trying to have sex with somebody, like, I really want to have great sex with this person, I want to have pleasure. Once in a while, someone's crying. Once in a while, someone's like, I can't get it up. Once in a while, someone's something different from, wow, this is so hot. And a lot of it is, there's a lot of stuff in there that has gone it hasn't been dug up yet to be looked at. So this is also the seat of creativity. So have you ever experienced writer's block? Anyone in here? Or a creativity block on something? Or I just can't put the words to paper, or I just don't feel like dancing, or whatever it is. That's usually something's going on in here, blocked. And this has to be connected to this. And this. If we don't have permission for great speaking our truth, we probably don't have permission for great sex. They're connected. Everything is connected. I used to think, before I read something in Psychology Today, I used to think that it would take 10 good things to erase a bad thing. Like a bad memory. Reptilian brain is like really good at remembering stuff. It turns out it's more like 1,000. Because this really is to our survival and doesn't want us to touch the stove again. Or walk down an alley again. Or do the things that could harm us again. And so if we have a bad memory from a younger time or whatever, it takes lots of things to override reptilian brain. So we might as well have great sex. We might as well have great sex. We might as well have as much pleasure as we could possibly have, because it takes a lot to override this. Pleasure is what we need. Pleasure is medicine. So these two are connected. Stephen?
Well, it just occurs to me that you talk about the pleasure would bring up the negative or the painful.
Yeah.
So there's sort of a trap there. Because that pleasure brings up a trigger, and then I'm back here.
Well, in the middle.
Like a potential no-win situation.
Well, if you know how to do emotional release, which you do,
Yeah.
then you get to work it out, and then you get back to making love. You need to, like, the thing is, we can't just keep
Right.
eating it down, drinking it down, shoveling it down, armoring it down. We have to let it come up. It has to come up to get some light and some air. And yeah, it could be a potential no-win, depends on how much you have. But emotional release is the key to that. We're not going to do emotional release tonight, but we are going to. No, we're not. We don't have enough mats. But we are going to do an exercise where we take a look at what's going on in all the chakras, and then we put some sex energy in, and then we look again and see how it is, see how it's going. And then we'll just see how you're feeling and where you felt it and where you're not feeling something. And that's where you would go to look, like what's happening there. So we'll have a chakra exercise now, and I'll talk more about the chakras as we go in. So it's going to require everyone to sit straight like you are. You're like in perfect form. Everyone to sit straight, at least with their back straight, even if you're sitting on the floor. If you're sitting in the swinger chairs, you're fine. Okay, and put all your stuff down on the floor. Great. And then close your eyes. Oh, wait, open your eyes again for a minute. In the second part, I'm going to be asking you to squeeze, not in part 2, I'm going to be asking you to squeeze your anal sphincter muscles and your PC muscles. Those are the muscles that you're sitting on, and they're the muscles that you would use to stop a flow of urine if you were peeing. And so it will look like this. So everyone just do that once. Good. So it's not me doing this. I just want to make sure. Okay. But that's in part 2. So when I say now we're going to start squeezing, that's where I want you to squeeze, the bottom. Okay, close your eyes. All right. So with your eyes closed, I want you to focus in on your breath. You're breathing in and out. Actually, the breath is breathing you. You, even if you hold your breath, at some point the breath is going to breathe you. You don't stop breathing until you expire. So as you breathe in, take in a little more air and let your belly poke out. And then exhale with a little sound. Good. Another few times. Good. And keep breathing, and I'm going to keep talking now. I want you to send your awareness, with your eyes closed, send your awareness down to your root. That's your anus, your anal sphincters, your tailbone, your butt cheeks on the chair. Send your awareness there and look to see what's happening. Notice if there's any energy flowing. Notice if it's just numb. Notice if it's painful. Notice if you feel nothing. Just notice and take a snapshot. This center is red, the color red, and it's survival, family of origin, country of origin, decade you were born in, conversations in the world at that time. Everything that has to do with the fundamental foundation of who you are. And put that in the snapshot too. Then on your next breath, let your awareness come up to your sex, just slightly up or more frontal, to your sex area. We're really going along the spine, but you could feel sex more in different parts of your body than the spine. So the sex area, notice what's happening there. Notice if you feel a little titillated, if you feel aroused, if you feel pain, if you feel nothing, if you feel numb. Take a snapshot in the sex. The sex area is orange, and it has to do with memories of pleasure, pain. It has to do with, I forgot to say the first one has to do with money. This one has to do with creativity or the blocking of. And this also has to do with procreation. And take a snapshot. Now, as you breathe, breathing still, bring your awareness to your upper belly solar plexus, third chakra. The color is yellow. This area of the body has to do with self-esteem and feelings, expression of, not expression of, and power. How are you when you're in power? Are you generous? Do you block other people, and so on? Just notice what's happening in your belly, and notice if it feels open and like there's a flow between your bottom part and your top part, or if it feels kind of blocked. A lot of people put on weight here, like a donut around their belly. So notice your midsection and take a snapshot. And now bring your awareness to your heart. The color is green. Your heart chakra, does it feel weighted down, like you have weight on your heart? Or does it feel open and expansive, like you have wings attached to your heart? Just notice and take a snapshot. This center has to do with generosity, compassion, respect for all there is, open arms. Notice what's happening in your heart chakra in that snapshot. And I said the color was green. Bring your awareness now to your throat, and everybody swallow. Do you feel like you have to go, and if you do, please do it. Just notice what's happening in your throat. Does it feel crunchy in there? Does it feel phlegmy in there? Do you feel open in there? The color is blue. Can you express your creativity, your ideas, your feelings, your thoughts, or do you withhold? And does your throat feel blocked? And take a snapshot. And then bring your awareness to your third eye. With your eyes closed, do you see anything? Look. Is it dark in there? Or do you see colors? And if you see colors, do you see swirling colors? And are you someone who can see beyond? Like you can see the future before it happens, or you can read people or whatever. You have some other abilities. Take a snapshot in your third eye. What is happening right now? The color is indigo. You don't have to see indigo, but that's the color that represents that chakra. And now allow your awareness to go up and around your head. The crown chakra, the 1,000-petal lotus. Notice if you feel open above and around your head, or if you feel like there's a lid on you, or a cloud around you. That's how it's been described to me. This is the presence of all colors in this 1,000-petal lotus, and some people feel connected to everything, all there ever was in the whole cosmos, and some people feel like there's a lid. So notice who you are and take a snapshot. Very good. Now we're going to move some energy. So your eyes are still closed. We're going to start squeezing the bottom, and we're going to move some sexual energy all the way up the spine. So how we're going to do that is to start squeezing, and you squeeze on the exhale. We're going to breathe in through the nose and exhale with ch. And as you make the ch sound, a little quicker than that, you're going to squeeze. So ch. Keep squeezing. Now we're going to change the ch sound to ooh. 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 And squeeze. Ooh. 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 Keep squeezing. Ooh. 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 I'm going to talk. You squeeze. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh is the sound of the sex chakra. Ooh. You heard it in songs. Ooh, baby, baby. Ooh. Ooh. They didn't know, but we do now. Ooh. 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 Keep squeezing. Ooh. Ooh. Now change to ah. 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 Ah's the heart sound. Ah. 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 Ah, put your hand on your heart. Ah, ah, see if you feel the vibes. Ah, 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 ah. Now alternate. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh, ah, and squeeze, 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 squeeze. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh. Ah, ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh, ah. Now go faster. Ooh, ah, 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 ooh. Ah, now stop. All right, now big inhale through the nose. Sorry, big inhale through the nose. Pull the energy all the way up your spine. And tighten every muscle, your face, your fists, your shoulders, and take a sniff up to the third eye. And release big with an exhale. Ah. Very good. One more big inhale through the nose. All the way up your spine, pull the energy, and then pull it up to the third eye with a sniff. Hold it. And release big through the mouth. Ah. And one more big inhale up. Pull that sexual energy all the way up your spine. Hold it. Take a sniff. And when you release, let it back down your spine. And give your bodies a little shake. And keep your eyes closed and notice. Notice any energy running through your body now. And where is it? I feel it all over and in my extremities, especially my hands, which made fists. I also feel it buzzing in my third eye. That's me. We're going to make that snapshot check again now. Send your awareness down to your root. See what's happening there, different from what might have been there in the first snapshot. Now send it to your sex. Look to see what's happening there. Maybe you have a little bit more titillation or arousal there, maybe a pulsing. Now bring the awareness to your belly, solar plexus. See if there's some more flow going through there, through the flute they call it, the internal flute. Now look in your heart. See if your heart feels a little lighter than it did before. Now swallow, everybody. Look to see. The person who was coughing before was just a little ahead of schedule. Then look in your third eye. Is there something different from what was there the first time? And finally, feel up and around your halo, your aura. Look and see what's happening above and around your head. We've just connected sex to heart through the sound of ooh and ah, and we've squeezed the bottom and then pulled the energy up the spine. So open your eyes slowly and let's hear from people and see what happened. So who experienced something different in your second snapshots to your first snapshot? Just a show of hands. Awesome. And who would like to say anything that was different for you, like in one of your areas? Anyone?
My third eye was buzzing like crazy.
Awesome. And did you see any colors? Did you see different things in there?
No, but interesting enough, my crown feels more closed off now than it did before. So
Oh, really?
Open right now, my crown feels more closed off.
Okay. We're going to have to blow it off.
Shave my head.
Yeah, something. Yes. Someone else, anything different.
The second snapshot, I was feeling a lot warmer and relaxed.
Nice, thank you. Diana?
My third eye was brilliant. Just white light shooting out.
Wow, nice.
I loved it.
Beautiful. Zoe, did you have your hand raised? No? Okay. Anyone else? One more? No? Okay. So basically what we just did was a tantric awakening. We just did a tantric awakening of moving energy from the bottom to the top. These chakras, the lower ones, get a bad rap. They're called the lower chakras. That indicates something bad about them, but there's nothing bad about them. This one is our vital life force. Like, this is how we get here. Two people got together and had sex and made a baby, and scientists still don't really know how to explain that. That's our whole place of creation, and it's needed and necessary in our lives. And most of us have been cut off from here down and been told this is sinful or this is something, this is not, be ashamed. How many people have experienced shame? Like for one thing or another, but mostly for being in a physical body. Like, excuse me, have you ever been to a horse show? Horses jump over things and they shit at the same time that they're jumping. They don't go, oh, I'm not going to jump over this thing because I have to go to the bathroom right now. Only we. Listen, I had a golden retriever, and I was moving into a new condo. I lived in LA at the time, and I was moving into a new condo. I had just moved in, and my golden retriever decided to mark all of the vertical blinds and shit all over the carpeting because he was marking the new house as his turf. And I took a broom and I started like beating whatever was left in him out of him. And I called a friend and I said, Tom, come over to my house because I'm going to kill this dog. I don't want to kill him. I love him, but like he's just ruined my whole new condo. Tom came over, he took the broom out of my hand, and the dog, his tail went, between his legs for like 1 second. And the second second, he saw a Frisbee. He picked that Frisbee up and he came over. Want to play? Only humans carry shame for like 45, 50 years. Animals do not. They don't even know what that is. Shame and guilt are two manufactured feelings made up by the powers that be to keep us in control. So I say, if we connect this part all the way up to this part, and everything's working and things are moving through it, we can't be controlled. Consider that for a moment and take a breath. I think I heard an aho. Thank you. I don't want to be controlled. I personally don't. I never did. But I didn't know what was ailing me and what was controlling me. And I don't know if you knew. I assert that many of the limitations and many of the beliefs that we have that are housed somewhere in these places were given to us by other people. They are not even ours, and we don't have to keep carrying them, and we don't have to be ashamed about it. So Tantra and connecting sex to our happiness, to me, became the solution. That's why I write about it so much. Now I'll give you one quick other thing, and then I'm going to open for question and answers. I wrote a second book called the same thing, Sex and Happiness. It gets better with age. Because I was brought up to believe that when I turned 50, everything was going off. Like it would go away. I would dry up like a prune. Anyone I was related to would dry up like a prune, and there would be nothing left of us. Now, that didn't happen to my parents, thank goodness. And that hasn't happened to me. But I have worked at it. And people who are aging also need hope that their body still works. We need dopamine, we need serotonin, we need oxytocin, and we need endorphins just as much for our brains when we're over 50 as we do when we have no control over it, when we're like 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Like we need all those chemicals to keep the brain functioning well for the rest of our lives. So why ever stop? But the powers that be would have us believe that like we're no longer useful. Some of you know about ISTA. I now do an ISTA over 50 because 50-year-old, women over 50 sometimes get like they're invisible. Nobody younger sees them. And men over 50 often get creep. He looks just like the guy, my uncle, who touched me when I was 3. I can't stand it. I didn't mean to be pointing in your direction, Glenn. I'm sorry. I was just like going like this. And so I decided to write a book for people who are aging, so some of your parents could get hip to this also, for people who are aging to know that they don't have to go that way. They don't have to be or go that way that the culture would have us go. That our sexuality is probably, well, what I call it is the secret that they didn't write about in the book The Secret or in the movie The Secret. I don't know why they left it out. But this is the secret. And I don't know what they're talking about. Affirmations and visualizations and whatever. These don't work if this isn't working. They don't. They don't work alone. We need the whole thing. We need to be embodied. Everything needs to work together. So, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. I think some of you already think this. But maybe I've shed some light on what you were thinking about it or what you were feeling about it, and I hope that I have. I want to open now to question and answer if you have any. I'd love to answer them. Yes. Tell me your name again.
Sex could be a means to, huh? Oh, no boo.
No boo. Okay, good.
Earlier you stated that sex could be a means by which to process pain and trauma.
Yes.
And by overloading, that 1,000-to-1 ratio of pain with pleasure. Can that be done via any modality, whether it be if I like looking at kittens, or if I like working out, or eating McDonald's? Can any dopamine experience override a trauma when utilized consciously?
Let's say yes, and some are more effective than others. Okay? I'll give you an example. I have a friend who has rheumatoid arthritis. I don't know how many of you know about that, but it's very debilitating. Your hands start to go like this, and you kind of walk like this, like the hips don't work anymore, the hip joints, etc. And it's very, very painful. And she one day was having like a 10 pain, 10 on a 10 scale. And she called an ex-lover and said to him, would you come over? I'd like you to make love to me for an hour or two. I want to see if it will change my pain ratio. And he agreed to come over and make love to her. So he went over, made love to her, and her pain went down to a 6. And she wrote a book called Pleasure as Medicine after that.
Wow.
Because it made a difference with rheumatoid arthritis. So I would say that might be more effective than McDonald's. Because it's moving energy. The thing is to move energy in the body. To any place where the energy is stagnant, to move it through the body. So that's why sex is so effective. Thanks for that question.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Yes.
What if sex is the trauma?
If sex is the trauma, great. Super question. So it is for a lot of people. They've had sexual trauma. Either somebody has inappropriately touched them, someone has been raped, someone has walked in, let's say, on their parents, and that traumatized. I mean, there's so many ways it could go. That has to be faced. So my solution to that would be to do it in controlled spaces with somebody who works with that energy, like a one-on-one session where somebody works with that energy, or come to a class where we're moving that energy and where everybody has been somewhat traumatized by it, and letting the facilitators know that this happened so that they can keep an eye on you. In my classes, there's always people who have been traumatized sexually. And I have been, which I only found out about just a little while back. I found out when I was 72. I'm 76 now. When I was 72, I had a flashback, and it finally put together all my anger reasoning. Like, here I was angry all this time, and I finally found the thing, the what? Hi. So good to see you. So I finally found out why. So what I did, my sexual, my trauma resulted in me acting out sexually. I was hypersexual. Some people, then that's one of the things that happens to people. Sometimes people are hypersexual, sometimes people are not, like more going towards celibacy or having, like when they finally are having sex with somebody, like having lots of holding back, etc. There's so many trauma responses. One could be just like totally the opposite. Like you'd think if I was sexually traumatized, I wouldn't want sex, but that's all I wanted. And finally, Tantra helped slow that down, and then finally, my brain was ready to see, my mind was ready to handle the incident. So I had the flashback just a few years ago. But I've been searching for it my whole life. So I would say, yes, it's very good to do sex work with sexual trauma. And in controlled ways.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking that. Someone else, anything else, any other? Yeah, Glenn.
Laurie, I'm going back to your story about the 60-year-old woman that you invited to
Sex magic.
have the orgasm.
Yeah.
In one part of it. And just as an example of how this disease of feeling or inability to feel is at the root of all of this. Without getting too complicated here, as I hear you, you bring out everything that is to open to this feeling. Do you have a meditation, or
What we just did.
Paragraph on that, or what would that sound like?
What we just did. The reason we just did what we just did is because I want everyone to take that with them, and I want them to like look in what's going on in their chakras every day, like what's happening, where am I blocked, where don't I feel anything. I also suggest that if you're driving, if you're somebody who drives a lot, like in New York, I have people do this on the subway, but here, just when you're at a red light, squeeze and breathe. Do ooh, ah, ooh, open up the waves.
The jerk that's next to you at the light, right? Cut you off previously.
Yeah, like when you're mad about that, somebody just gave you this, you're like, oh, I'm going to make myself feel good. Yeah, that's what I would say to do. And I would do that each day. I mean, I can't really teach emotional release here tonight, but I can say that I can. If you gave me your email address in your sign-in of this evening, I can send you a video on an emotional release technique that saved my life. So I can do that. So thanks for asking that, Glenn.
Sure.
Thank you. Yes.
How do you discover your boundaries without discovering your boundaries?
Well, you only discover them when you discover them. So mostly we discover them when they're being trespassed. Like I say to you, oh yeah, that's good, yeah. Oops, I went too far in my saying yes. Or you went too far in your discovery with me. Like most of us have never realized our boundaries until they were crossed. So I don't know that there's any way to pre-guess them. I mean, some parents these days are telling kids about their boundaries. I just saw something on YouTube where a school teacher was singing a song about boundaries with a bunch of kids. Oh no, this is my space, da 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 da. Like, I never learned anything like that. I would just say, as soon as you know you have a boundary, say it. And the other thing is, don't expect someone else to enforce your boundaries. Only you can.
Is anger the only
No.
emotion that signifies a boundary? Are there other emotions that
Other emotions do. Well, anger does it first. Like if you're somebody who's been trespassed many, many times or has done it to yourself, here, I'll do this. Oh, here, I'll do this. Oh, here, I'll take care of you. I'll take care of everything. And then you're like worn out. Usually anger is the first thing people feel when that happens. But it's not, once you know what they are and you've started exercising them, it doesn't take anger. It's just like, hey, that's a boundary of mine. Or, I would redirect. If you say to me, hey, I want to make out with you, I might say to you, well, I don't know if I want to do that yet, but I might want to take a walk with you holding hands. So I don't trespass myself. in saying yes to something that I'm not sure I want to do. I mean, when I was growing up, I didn't even know that we could do that. You know, we could say, oh, I didn't know that no was a complete sentence, and I didn't know that I could just, there were other options. I felt like, I felt like before sexual intercourse, there was like making out, heavy petting, there was like really a lot of hot, juicy stuff. And then sexual intercourse came, and then everybody was like always in a hurry to get to it. But what happened to all the juicy stuff that we used to do, like in the car or whatever? That all seemed to go away. And then I realized, well, I can bring all of that back. It's my prerogative. So boundaries can come up about anything. They can come up about, I'll be right with you. They can come up about, I don't want to lend you this, or I don't want to spend time with you, or when you call me, please ask me if I have time to speak to you. Or, I mean, there's so many things that we could have boundaries about, and until we know them, other people don't know them. So they just do what they do with us, inadvertently, perhaps stepping on them because we haven't let them know, like, hey, I'm like this. Hey, I'm like this. And you know what? Once we are, hey, I'm like this, people are so happy to know the playing field. This is what I said. We did a couples course this weekend here. And I said to all the couples, when I go to a different country, let's say I go to Russia, I could play tennis with anybody. I don't have to speak Russian. Everyone knows what the lines are in tennis that plays tennis. There's a net, and there's the alleys, and there's the two sides, and I'm going to serve to this side, and then I'm going to serve to this side, and we know the scores. I don't speak Russian, they don't speak English, we can play. Relationships? There's no net. There's no alleys. There's no court. So boundaries help us create intimacy by letting people know what the playing field is. Hey, I'm into you. Today, I don't know you that well. I don't want to, this is where I want to go to. I don't want to go here. How's that with you? Would that be okay with you? Most people are fine. But we didn't know how to talk about it. So it doesn't have to have anger attached to it. It could just be, hey, I really like you. Can we just hold hands? How many people here read the book, The Little Prince? Okay, The Little Prince, the prince comes every day until the fox says you can come closer. That's what boundaries are. You come every day at the same time, do the same thing until I feel safe with you. When I feel safe with you, I can be intimate with you. You can come closer and we can play more. I didn't know that book was about boundaries until, I really figured it out. The Little Prince is about boundaries. What was your question? Thank you for that one.
My question was, like, anger is my go-to as well. It's show up.
Hi.
Angry about anything.
I know you.
Hi. My younger sister's go-to trigger is fear. And they're always dealing with, is their fear a boundary, or is their fear like self-limiting belief, self-esteem? It's not a boundary, they want to go past it, but they are terrorized by deep connection, intimacy, vulnerability. So how do you play with fear, boundary, acknowledgement? I mean, like, if somebody trespasses, right, or dishonors, or whatever, I've made meaning out of something that I'm like, now I'm angry because that was not okay. How does somebody who simply interacts with the world mostly
From fear.
And their fear is like this spectrum of different things, how do you tease apart where your boundaries are when that's your engagement?
Great question.
It is great. I think they have to state some of them. Like, I think they have to, like, I live my life as 100% responsible for my experience. So
they're definitely not there.
Got it.
Right. They might even not believe that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Your sister would have to be here.
Yeah.
And you know what? She could be sitting next to my sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that. I mean, a lot of people who are fear-based are coming to class these days, and they're doing, sometimes they have to come more than once to work through a bunch of things, but they can do it, and they can ask for support. Like they can say, like, I want to pass this, but I need you to hold my hand.
Yeah. Do you think maybe that, like, they need to discover their anger to discover that edge of a boundary? I
Possibly,
think that's maybe.
yeah. I don't know if I believe that like 100%,
Yeah.
but I think there's some of that involved. Yes.
So, what about say it, name it,
Oh, yeah.
your power?
Right. Okay. So we have a thing that we teach called Say It, Name It, Reclaim Your Power. So I would say, I'm afraid here. This is the thing I'm afraid of. I need to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then, or whatever it is that I need.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm afraid to go here with you, or whatever. I'm afraid to. See, I feel like fear can be honored,
Yeah.
but it has to. But it can't. It has to be spoken. Because if you go around just protecting, the person can't. They can't have their experience and they can't live. Like, we can't just protect everybody who's afraid. Everybody's afraid of something. But then there are people who are just fear-based. Yeah. Thanks, Michael. Awesome. Anything else? Yes.
I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more about what you mentioned about women over 50 feeling invisible and maybe like high-level solutions to that.
Yeah, don't be invisible. Like, that's it. I mean, I'm not a person who thinks I should dress my age. I'm not a person who thinks I should act whatever my age should be, whatever that is.
Whatever that means.
What? Yeah, whatever that means. Act your age.
My ex-wife was like that. She's like, I can't dress like this anymore. But she was so sexy when she dressed the way she didn't feel like it was her age.
Yeah, so it's part of it is to just not buy into the cultural narrative that we're expendable. Like, as soon as we're past child-rearing age, we can leave the planet. People are living longer and longer these days, and so I think we should get used to a lot of older people like being very cool. And yeah, I just wouldn't buy into it. And I'm doing these courses where people are just having the time of their life. Now, the issues are different, though. I have to say the issues are different in different classes. When people are younger than 50, they have certain issues that are common to pretty much all of them. And when they're over 50, they have other issues. Like, more like, how am I going to live the rest of my life? Not so much comparing themselves to somebody next to them or how they look or whatever. Is it okay if I say this? Like, they're pretty outspoken. It's just different. I've had a riot. I was telling Diana and Glenn were here earlier today, and I was telling them about my first is to over 50 that I did. We have a thing. This may shock some people, but I'll say it anyway. We have a thing called Temple Slut, and it's on one of the last nights of the training where somebody can be a slut for 7 minutes. It's kind of like good girls. You said good girls. You had to be a good girl. So good girls who come to this class can experiment with being a slut for 7 minutes. They can have anyone do anything to them.
Why only 7 minutes?
Because it could be over. First of all, everyone needs a chance. And second of all, it could be a little overwhelming. Because you're blindfolded and you say what your boundaries are, and then anybody can do anything else. So a woman lied down, and I said to her, what are your boundaries? And she said, I don't have any. I said, no, you have to have some boundaries. Like, there have to be some things that you don't want anybody to do. And she said, no, actually, I don't care. So she put the blindfold on and she lied down, and within minutes, somebody put their penis in her mouth, and somebody else started giving her oral sex, and the rest of the people were just like feeling her and groping her. And when the 7-minute bell went off, she jumped up. Like, they went away, because you're not supposed to know who was touching you. So they went away. She jumped up. She took off the blindfold and she said, why did I wait so long for that? I could have been doing that my whole life. It was great. So there are some different issues. Great question. Anything else for anybody?
What
You
I
have
would
one?
say to the lady with the hat earlier who spoke, you literally spoke the solution when you said tease apart. Because what is often one of the aspects of flirting in romance?
Teasing.
Teasing, right? Is feeling out those boundaries in a playful way to where we know where we can go.
Exactly. Well, part of the problem these days, I think, is that everybody takes way too much too seriously. To me, I don't take my life that seriously. I take living very seriously, but I laugh at myself all the time, and I want to laugh all the time. I just don't want to take all of it that seriously. It's like I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to fall down. I definitely have things that I did that were like, what? Why did I do that? And I'm here I am. I'm living and talking about it. I'm breathing and sitting before you, and I just don't take it all that seriously. It's like, okay, that's the past. I can't do anything about it. All I can do is make choices now. And so I'm going to keep making choices that work for me now. And I encourage you all to do the same. And if there are aspects in your sexuality and in your happiness that need looking at, then look at them. I invite you to look at them. It's like, to me, it can only get better. And even if it gets a little worse before it gets better, it definitely gets better. There is definitely a light in the tunnel. So I think I'll make that my parting remark. I will tell you that I have my books for sale here. I have both of them. I have Sex and Happiness, The Tantric Laws of Intimacy, and I have Sex and Happiness, It Gets Better with Age. The first book is $20. The second book is $18. That's because I had a publisher the second time, so she advised me how to price a book. I'd love if you'd want them. They're here, and are we gonna do a drawing? Yes, we are. So I have a number in mind.
Bundle, you save $3.
Oh yeah, you save $3 if you buy them both, and I'm happy to sign them. Also, I have a number. I chose a number ahead of time, so if you signed on the book at this number, then you're going to win too.
Nice.
Michael has the.
I'm going to do the great reveal.
Oh, you are?
Sign up. So do you remember your number? Does everybody remember their number?
I just wrote it.
Didn't sign in.
Didn't sign in. Oh. Okay.
I'm sorry.
You ready?
Yeah, the great reveal.
Dun, 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 dun.
11. Is it you? Is it you? That's great. I picked that because it's Michael's favorite number. 11.
Really satisfying. I was just about to ask you which book I should guess.
Well, you get both.
Now you don't have to choose.
That's so great.
So good.
That's so great. So I want to let you know that we really had a phenomenal course here this weekend for couples, and Michael and I do a course called Extraordinary Lovers, and we're planning. Oh no. Okay.
Thank you. It's a cute bag. Aw.
And so we're planning to come back to this area, either do it here in this space in Denver or come to Boulder. And we're going to do one weekend for singles, same course, Extraordinary Lovers, only focused on singles who want to meet someone and would like to know, like, how do they actually know when they meet someone, is this my person, and how to keep it going. And we'll do the one for couples to keep staying in love, because lots of times couples have a hard time. We believe couples are an endangered species. So we will come back to this area and do both courses.
Any idea when, roughly?
I have to set the date with my team when I go home. I would say I'm not coming here when it's snowing. I'll just say that. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm not really fond of snow, shoveling snow or leaves. So I don't know exactly when, but we'd love to do it here. I'd love to have you in it. Last time you were in it, you were the videographer. You were the tech person.
I think doing it in person would be very nice.
Yeah, doing it in person is really nice.
With my beloved, if we.
I would love that. I would love that. Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed being here tonight, and I thank you so much for this amazing turnout. Like, I hope you got something. Thank you. Thank you.